Olivia, we're going to start with the General Assembly, of course, kicking off its annual meeting in New York today.
Yeah, so in the media, we've just been getting trickling bits of information coming in, a little bit of comment, a little bit of analysis, but a lot of the really interesting editorial work was being done in the run-up to the meet, a lot of speculation. We've got Max Fisher's blog here for the Washington Post, who says in a somewhat tongue-in-cheek way, for once the General Assembly actually matters, and he gives us 8 reasons why we should be taking notice. The first 4 of those reasons all pertain to Iran. So that is the half of the reasons he gives, of course, is the appearance of President Hassan Rouhani, who we're all waiting for this evening with bated breath to see what he has to say. Now, it's interesting to look back at how his name has cropped up in the media, in the international media, over the last few days in the run-up to the General Assembly, because it's been featured quite a lot and often with a very positive slant. Here we've got an article from the Courrier International, but it's originally from an Iranian paper called Etemad. It's a reform-minded, more liberal publication. With this cartoon here, you can see Rohani and Obama exchanging messages in a kind of very friendly spirit. They open the article saying that the West, the international community, has never been so optimistic, so enthusiastic about a warming of relations between the two countries, and that some Europeans are even losing their appetite for the very heavy sanctions on Iran. There's another article, an editorial in the same paper, saying that if the two countries get together and perhaps make a bit of progress on the nuclear dossier, that will be thanks to Rohani. And he himself is actually doing some quite visible, symbolic moves that have been reported in the media. For example, we've got this story of him bringing along a politician called Siamak Morsadeh with his delegation to the UN. Now, Morsadeh is the only Jewish politician in the Iranian government. He's an MP and, of course, part of the very small minority Jewish community in Iran.
Well, that's actually quite a clear departure from, of course, his predecessor, Ahmadinejad, who was criticized often for his anti-Semitic remarks. No?
Exactly. So this is making a really clear break from the previous administration, especially in his tone, which is much more conciliatory. He himself wrote an editorial, an op-ed, for the Washington Post, where he uses these, this was over the weekend, again, laying the terrain for this meeting, making himself visible in the media, using these diplomatic phrases that we're very used to hearing, like going towards national dialogue, mutual respect, constructive progress, which, okay, this sounds familiar. It sounds like the diplomacy that we hear from every country. But again, we didn't hear this from Ahmadinejad. He had very little time for trying to get Western media on his side before he took to the podium at the UN.
All right, well, and so much of the focus on Iran. What other podium speakers are grabbing headlines then?
Well, yeah, the focus is on Iran, of course, because in the past that's been a long-time enemy of the US. We were expecting criticism. Well, we saw criticism the last time, but criticism this afternoon came from a bit of an unexpected source. Brazil opened the General Assembly. Dilma Rousseff, president of Brazil, took to the podium, made the necessary pleasantries, but then didn't lose any time slamming the National Security Agency. She was furious about what she calls state spying. Now, this has been relayed in the Brazilian press, of course, this afternoon, and international press as well. Extremely critical there of the Washington, as she said, spying on her own emails, those pertaining to Petrobras, that's the national oil corporation, and Brazilian people's own personal communications. She said that this kind of behavior was a violation of human rights, it curtailed civil liberties, and eradicates the possibility of freedom of speech, of course, a very dear principle to Americans in general. So she's speaking as somebody, of course, at the head of a country which has had state censorship, military dictatorship in its very recent history. So this is a very big issue for her, and she even cancelled a state meeting with Barack Obama last week. Well, cancelled, postponed. It's going to come. So after Barack Obama took to the podium, after Dilma Rousseff, it was a very frosty welcome he got from her.
All right, Olivia Salazar-Winspear with a look at MediaWatch. Thank you for that. All right, well, it's time now for Culture here on Live from Paris, and for that, I'm joined by our